I want you to think about this morning. Maybe you stopped somewhere on the way to work. Maybe you walked into your favorite coffee shop. You stood in line for a few minutes, you ordered your usual, you tapped your card, and you walked out with something warm in your hand. It felt good. It felt normal. It felt like just a small, harmless part of your day. $5, that's all it was. And honestly, I get it. I've done the same thing more times than I can count. There's something about that morning coffee that feels like a reward, like you've earned it before the day has even started. But today, I want to talk about something that took me a long time to fully understand. Something that has nothing to do with judging your habits and nothing to do with telling you to live like a monk. It's about understanding what's actually happening in the background of small automatic decisions and why that matters more than most people realize. By the end of this video, you're going to see money a little differently, not in a stressful way, in a clearer way. The kind of clarity that quietly changes things over time. If that sounds useful, consider subscribing. You can give a like to the video, and you can tell us in the comments which part of the video you liked. Honest, calm conversations about money, psychology, and the decisions that shape our financial lives without us always noticing. Now, let's get into it. A few years ago, a friend of mine took a close look at her finances for the first time. She had a good job, a steady income, and no major debt. By most standards, she was doing well, but each month, without fail, she'd reach the last week and notice that something had quietly slipped away. Not much, just enough to be annoying. So she went through her bank statements from the last 3 months. What she discovered wasn't one big issue, it was dozens of small ones. A coffee here, a lunch there, a subscription she forgot about, an app she hadn't opened in 4 months. None of these seemed serious on their own, but together they added up to nearly $300 a month she genuinely could not account for. She described it as finding a slow leak in a pipe. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet, constant drain that had been happening for years. This is a common financial experience, yet hardly anyone talks about it openly. We focus on the big, visible expenses: rent, car payments, student loans. Those matter, and they're easy to see. The tougher part is noticing the small, regular spending that quietly runs in the background of your life like a forgotten program. The reason we often miss it isn't laziness or irresponsibility. It relates to something called present bias. This concept from behavioral economics explains why smart, capable people still have trouble with money. Present bias is simple. We naturally feel the present moment strongly, while the future feels vague. A reward today feels real and immediate, but a reward 20 years from now seems like a theory. So when you spend $5 on something that brings you joy today, your brain registers it as a clear win. It struggles to recognize what those $5 could become if you had made a different choice. The future value of your money feels too far off and too abstract to compete with a warm drink on a Tuesday morning. This is not a character flaw. It is part of being human. Once you understand this, many aspects of your financial life start to make much more sense.
Let's look at the actual numbers, because when you see them clearly, something genuinely shifts. The average person who buys coffee from a cafe does it about 4 times a week. At $5 a cup, that's $20 a week, around $80 a month, and just under $1,000 a year. Now, $1,000 a year doesn't sound alarming. It feels manageable. It doesn't seem like it's doing any real damage, and that's exactly why it's so easy to overlook. But here's what happens when you introduce time into the equation. If you took that same $1,000 every year and invested it consistently into something simple, like a broad market index fund, growing at an average of around 7% annually, after 20 years, you would have approximately $50,000. After 30 years, that number approaches $100,000. All from coffee. $5, 4 times a week, over time. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying cutting out coffee is the path to financial freedom. That would be an oversimplification. And honestly, it would miss the point. The math is real, but the lesson isn't about coffee. The real lesson is what behavioral economists call the aggregation problem. We evaluate small spending decisions in isolation. We look at the coffee and think, it's just $5. We look at a streaming subscription and think, it's just $15 a month. We look at a slightly nicer apartment and think, it's just a little more. We look at eating out and think, it's just one meal. But we rarely add everything together. We almost never sit down and look at the full picture of our automatic spending and ask ourselves one simple question. What is this entire pattern actually costing me over time? Let me give you a realistic example. Let's say you earn $50,000 a year. You spend about $80 a month on coffee. 2 streaming services cost you around $35 a month. You grab lunch out at work a few times a week, around $60 a month. A gym membership you barely use, $30. And a few forgotten app subscriptions, maybe $20. That's about $225 a month, or nearly $2,700 a year. Now, imagine even half of that, let's say $1,300 a year, was invested consistently starting at age 25. By age 55, at 7% annual growth, that becomes roughly $130,000. Not from earning more, not from a huge lifestyle change, just from making the invisible visible. I remember a friend who went through her bank statements like this. She wasn't shocked by any single expense. She was shocked by the total. Seeing everything together, all at once, that's what changed her behavior. Not a budget, not a new app, just clarity. The coffee was never the problem. Invisibility was. I want you to make a change. It is a small change, but it is very important. Stop thinking about money in terms of what it costs you today. Start thinking about what you are giving up when you spend money. Every time you spend money, you are making a choice. You are giving up what that money could become in the future for something you want now. Sometimes this choice is worth it, like having dinner with someone you love or going on a trip you have been saving for. These things can make your life better. But most of the time, we are not making conscious choices. We are just spending money without thinking. We are buying things without deciding if we truly want them. That $5 coffee costs $5 today, but you are not just giving up $5. You are giving up what that $5 could become in 20 or 30 years. That could be a large amount of money, $50,000 or even $100,000. This is something you should think about when you decide to buy that coffee. I am not saying you should never buy coffee. Sometimes it is worth it. Sometimes you should spend money on things that make you happy now. But you should make a conscious decision. You should think about what you are giving up when you spend money. It is powerful to change the way you think about money. When you understand that your brain pushes you to spend now, you can slow down. You can become aware of what you are doing, and you can make better choices. Awareness is the first step. It is where change begins. This is the turning point. It is about making choices.
It is about understanding what you want and what you are giving up every time you spend money. So what does the solution actually look like when you put it into practice? The first thing you need to do is become aware of what you are doing. For the next 2 weeks, do not change anything. Just observe. Pay attention to the things you buy without thinking, the things you do out of habit, not because you truly want them. You are not judging these choices. You are not calling them good or bad. You are simply seeing them clearly for the first time. The second step is to find one habit you can change without affecting your life in a meaningful way. Maybe you make coffee at home 4 days a week and go to a cafe once. Maybe you cancel a streaming service you no longer use. Maybe you bring lunch to work a couple of days a week instead of eating out every day. The exact choice does not matter. What matters is choosing to do something different on purpose. Now, whatever amount you free up, $30, $50, $80 a month, set up an automatic transfer to move that money into a savings or investment account on the same day each month. Make it automatic so you don't have to think about it. Let consistency do the work over time. The third step is to review everything once a month. Do not look at just one purchase. Look at the full picture, all the small expenses together, and ask yourself one simple question. Is this how I actually want to spend my money? A friend of mine did this with her bank statements. She told me that this one habit alone, just looking at everything together once a month, changed her relationship with money more than anything else she had tried. This solution is not about restriction. It is not about making your life smaller or less enjoyable. It is about seeing your choices clearly and then deciding if those choices are truly what you want. The $5 coffee. It was never really about the coffee itself. It was about understanding how small decisions, the ones you do not even notice, can shape your financial life. These decisions happen quietly. They happen consistently, not in dramatic moments, but on ordinary days, like a simple Tuesday morning, when it feels like nothing really matters. Most people do not struggle with money because of one big mistake. They struggle because of many small decisions made without awareness, and no one ever showed them what was really happening. You are not bad with money. You were simply never taught how to look at your spending honestly. That's what I hope you take from today. Not guilt, not anxiety, just clarity. I want you to see your decisions clearly and feel confident when you make them on purpose. You do not need to make massive changes. You just need to be consistent. Pause for a moment before you spend. Ask yourself, is this what I truly want? Sometimes the answer will be yes, and that's completely okay. Other times, when you really think about it, your answer might surprise you. Thank you for watching. If this message meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so we can keep having honest, calm conversations about money.